New moon rising. Oz returns, causing a Willow, Tara, Oz love triangle.
On the way to a meeting with the rest of the gang, Willow and Tara are discussing their feelings on cats. When Tara says she wants to get one, Willow automatically goes the witch route, saying it would be a familiar. But Tara is thinking more of a pet.
And they both seem to be more comfortable with the nature of their relationship. At the meeting,
Buffy says the fact that there's been such little hell activity means there's some big evil coming.
But Riley says the initiative has been capturing more demons than usual, and Giles thinks Adam is behind it.
So, Buffy and Riley only communicate hellish activity at these meetings? I mean, they're sleeping together. At the very least, you think they would talk on the phone, and he would say, hey, we're encountering a ton of activity, and she's like, really? I'm not seeing anything. But then again, that would involve Buffy being proactive and using her brain.
Yeah, they've got to stick to continuity.
Anya makes a snide remark, which is typical for any character on the show at any given moment, but for some reason, Giles chooses to call this one out specifically. But as he is chastising her, we find out what the inevitable evil is. It's Scott Evil.
Who rises in the doorway like a new moon.
Oh, is that why this episode is called that?
Yeah.
Got it.
Willow is thrown off, probably because Oz just walks in without closing the door behind him, and he asks if they can talk later. She says, okay. Oz leaves.
And then Tara awkwardly leaves, and things are just soaking in drama. I had to pull out a snorkel because I was drowning in it.
Later, Buffy and Riley talk about things while they're on patrol when they're attacked by a demon. Riley knocks it over a tombstone, then turns his back on it to call in a retrieval team. What a well-trained soldier. Then they continue on and just leave the demon there.
Buffy catches everyone up on Oz's deal, including that he's a werewolf, which throws Riley off.
Buffy is hurt when he says that werewolves are dangerous, and she says love isn't logical, and she even calls him a bigot. He tries to discuss things logically, but Buffy can't get over the sad string music and ends the conversation.
Oz shows up to Willow's room and asks her to go on a walk, and there's a big old drama conversation. And then Willow notices that there's a full moon, and Oz isn't changing into a vicious, snarling beast.
She asks how that's possible, and he says it's a long story.
He says he's not going to push, but he's a different person, and he came back to be with her. Oh, hang on, I got to change my goggles. I got a little drama inside. So is it an Angel crossover thing where we find out how Oz managed to do that?
No. We find out later in this episode.
Oh, okay, good. Because I don't want to watch that show.
A group of initiative guys, led by one of Riley's lame friends, get attacked by werewolves while on patrol. Apparently, they've completely given up on wearing masks or even face paint at this point. They're only getting more and more incompetent as the show goes on. And the werewolves practice their famous ability to throw people at trees. And the actor playing Riley's lame friend does a really bad job of acting like he passes out.
And the Oscar goes to...
The next morning, Oz is telling Willow about all his adventures and says he learned how to meditate to stay in control.
Willow says he's been all around the world, and he says he stayed the longest in Tibet. But he was only gone for about half a season. Oz asks if they can sleep a while, but Willow is uncomfortable and says they'll just have breakfast.
She heads to the bathroom to freshen up, and naturally Tara shows up at that point and finds Oz in Willow's room, so she awkwardly leaves.
Willow comes back in way faster time than it takes to do a good job brushing your teeth. Oz mentions Tara, which makes Willow uncomfortable.
Meanwhile, Buffy and Riley wake up and do that thing where you use blankets and sheets to strategically cover yourself before yanking on some clothes like all normal people do every morning. Buffy's still upset that Riley was upset that Willow was dating a supernatural creature of the night who would not hesitate to tear out an innocent person's throat in an instant.
She says Riley seemed to see all supernatural creatures as the same. She says there are some vampires that aren't evil at all. And even though she clearly knows more about that stuff than he does, his response is a sarcastic, "Name one."
They are interrupted by idiot number 1, letting Riley know about the army guys being attacked.
Buffy asks what kind of demon it was, and as Riley heads out, he says, "Does it matter?"
Buffy goes to talk to Willow and discovers that Oz did not change into a savage beast with fangs and razor-sharp claws that could tear through flesh like butter.
So Buffy knew that it was going to be a full moon, but she didn't even think about Oz. Willow tells her about how he learned to control his transformations. When Buffy notes that Willow doesn't seem happy, Willow awkwardly tells her about her and Tara. And Buffy acts really weird, and Willow asks if she is uncomfortable, but Buffy says no, instead of clarifying that she was remembering that time she was naked in front of Willow, and all the sleepovers they've had, and that one time that Willow asked if she could practice kissing on Buffy.
Wait, what? When did that happen?
No, I just put that in there.
Oh, okay. And Buffy says for the Oz terror situation, no matter what, someone is going to get hurt. But the important thing is just to be honest. Hypocrite.
Spike is sleeping on a really uncomfortable-looking sarcophagus when someone approaches, who turns out to be Adam. Spike tries to punch him, but it has no effect, and Adam says they will help each other with their respective problems.
And I was expecting this to be Adam's one time to show up in an episode. And the scene ended there, so I didn't expect him to show up again.
Willow visits Tara and tells her that nothing happened with Oz. Tara says she'll stay out of the way, but Willow says she doesn't know what she wants.
But Tara says to do what makes her happy. Oz is in the school, and he smells Willow's scent, but it's actually Tara. And he says he's going to start going to school there. So I'm not really sure what his life situation is, because school costs money.
Yeah.
And his family lives in Sunnydale, right?
I think so. I mean, he still has that werewolf nephew.
Yeah, and his house, where all his stuff was.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Oz notes that Tara is wearing one of Willow's sweaters, which isn't that weird. But then he decides to make it weird by saying that Willow's smell is all over Tara, and adding, "Do you know that? I get it, he's a werewolf. He can smell things."
And he starts to get more and more aggravated, and changes into a werewolf right in the hallway, and starts chasing Tara through the school, during the day, down hallways and stuff, but apparently all the people are now gone.
But luckily, Tara manages to easily stay away from him until Riley and his lame friends show up and shoot Oz with a tranquilizer. They zip him up in a bag and cart him off, and Tara tries to explain, but is unable to get the words out in her nervousness, and they leave her there. I'm continuously impressed by the initiative's measures of secrecy. Also, doesn't Riley know Tara at this point? And why would they not at least ask her some questions about what happened, or where the werewolf came from?
Stop using logic. And we cut back to Adam. So I guess that was the big twist of this episode, that he shows up more than once. And he's finished his chat with Spike, saying he needs heavy casualties on both sides, not just humans, giving us an inkling of his plan.
But all Spike cares about is getting his chip out. Tara finds Willow and tells her what happened, and Willow goes to the gang by herself instead of bringing Tara along to explain what happened firsthand. And Buffy says that Riley is not answering his pages. How responsible of him.
Underground, the army guys are about to kill Oz when he reverts back to human, and the initiative scientists start doing tests, despite Riley telling them to take it easy.
He says that Oz is harmless, even though they caught him when he was about to kill Tara, and they get Riley to leave and manage to induce Oz's transformation by shocking him.
The gang is still sitting around trying to figure out how to get into the initiative when they decide to just go and get inside the initiative. But then Spike shows up and says he'll help them get in.
Even though the last time he couldn't even find the way that he himself used to get out. Riley busts out a bruised up Oz.
And they make it 10 feet before 10 million guys pop out.
An officer comes to speak to Riley in a cell, telling him that he's going to be court-martialed to investigate his involvement with Buffy and the gang.
Is that the guy who's in charge of the initiative now?
Who the hell knows?
Okay, just checking.
Spike leads the gang to an initiative entrance, which Adam opens with his data powers.
So he's somehow able to type with those giant, clunky-ass demon hands. That was pretty impressive. I kind of wanted the camera to tilt down so we could see his keyboard. Maybe it has gigantic keys. Meanwhile, Anya and Giles are hacking the net grid, or whatever they said back in 2000.
And Anya shuts down power to the entire university area. Buffy confronts the initiative officer with a crossbow. So now she's directly opposing the United States military. I'm sure this will go great. He says Riley's going to be in big trouble, and they realize that he is being held prisoner as well.
And Buffy says, get dressed. Even though the dude clearly looks dressed already. And then when we see him later, he appears to be wearing the same clothes. So what the hell is she talking about? And somebody might say maybe he was wearing boxers or not pants, but he's got blankets on the lower half of his body, so Buffy wouldn't be able to see that. Maybe she just meant his shoes? But if I wanted someone to put on shoes, I wouldn't say get dressed. I'd say put on your shoes.
Buffy easily...
Or maybe he sleeps... Okay. No, I'm not done yet. Or maybe he sleeps like Spike, who wears his big combat boots when he's going to bed.
Buffy easily takes out the highly competent guard outside Riley's cell, and they go to find Oz, with the officer also in tow. They run into a bunch of goons, but Buffy threatens to kill the officer, so they agree to free Oz. He starts to transform, but gets it under control, and they leave. The power is supposedly out, but they clearly have some kind of backup power source, which makes sense. Wouldn't Anya cutting the power only have served to put them all on alert?
Yes.
What intelligent characters. After an uncomfortable elevator ride to the surface, Riley yanks out some wires, which is supposed to put an end to everything, and he stops to punch out the officer. But we already know they have stairs. I would think people would be rushing up to stop them.
Yeah.
Plus, the elevator goes up to an initiative troop house. They could have easily paged some people up there.
Yeah. The gang all splits up, so Buffy and Riley end up in some crappy dungeon thing, where Riley says he was wrong about lumping all demons into one category.
Even though nothing happened that should have made him think any differently than before. And the writers make some heavy-handed comparisons between Riley finding out about Oz and Buffy finding out about Willow and Tara. And Riley says the campus being blacked out should slow the initiative down, but I don't see why that would be the case. They usually operate in the dark outside anyway.
True. Willow and Oz are talking in his van, and he says, turns out the one thing that makes him turn into a werewolf is Willow.
He says it would be best if he left again.
And then he hydroplanes on all that drama covering the road.
Willow finds Tara, who is still in her dorm, so it would be really easy for the initiative to find her. Willow says she decided to stay with the one she loves. New moon rising. Overall?
So a lot of stuff happened, which can be a good thing. We saw Adam in more than one scene, which was nice. Has he just been walking around town for the past however many weeks, just doing nothing?
Yes.
He apparently explained his whole plan to Spike, and I'm interested to see if his plan, once we find out what it is, would have taken planning stages during the episodes he wasn't around, because that would at least give a partial excuse of what he was doing. But if we actually see him doing all the planning in real time, then I'm gonna wonder what the hell he was doing for episodes 1 through 18 of this season.
Well, he didn't wake up until like episode 14 or whatever, but yeah.
What was he dreaming about? Did we ever find out why the initiative was seeing an overwhelming amount of demon activity while Buffy was seeing zero? That seemed like it was going to be a thing at the beginning, but apparently not in this episode. Maybe later. Were the scientists who were causing Oz to change, were they accurate in that werewolf transformations always occur because of negative stimulation and not the moon? What about every other werewolf in existence? Didn't Oz himself get changed by a toddler or something?
Well, they said it was just a theory, and he got werewolfied by the toddler. He didn't immediately turn into a werewolf when he got bitten.
Okay, because if they are correct, maybe werewolves just hate the moon. That's the negative stimulation.
Well, it could be the same explanation that they gave to the Hulk when they first said that he transforms when he gets angry, because in the original issues he transformed at night. And they said later maybe he just thought he was going to transform, and that's what agitated him into transforming.
Because, toddlers have wild mood swings all the time. Maybe they should just do an episode about that, about his nephew saying he doesn't want to eat his green beans and then turning into a werewolf.
Yeah, I would think, honestly, a toddler werewolf would be more dangerous than an adult one, in the sense that he could probably be biting a lot of people that wouldn't be expecting anything, so you'd be getting werewolves spreading all over the place. I mean, an adult werewolf at least is more likely to kill his victim.
I'd watch that episode.
I would too.
Riley's change of heart was too convenient just to get that story point across by the end of the episode, and it appeared to happen just because Oz looked like a human, and Riley didn't even know Oz. He knew of Oz and saw him once. So that's all it takes for Riley to completely change his worldview? Seemed pretty forced. And now Willow's relationship with Tara is out in the open, which is nice, but I expect that we'll encounter more episodes where they slowly introduce it to each main character, because what would be the point of just telling people stuff? And the initiative knows everything about Buffy and the gang, which means they know where they live, and who their friends and family are, and where their friends and family live. So what is stopping them from just taking everybody out, or locking them up? We'd better see that in the next episode. I'm going to be super annoyed if they're all just meeting in Giles' house like nothing has changed in the next episode. And we better see a cat next episode too, just saying. Can't just dangle that in front of us and not actually have a cat. Is there a cat in the next episode? You've seen the show before, I haven't.
I don't remember. I doubt it.
Oh, man.
That costs money.
But I thought because of all the story points that move forward in this episode, that gave it a lot of clout. So I gave this one a B.
Dang, that's way higher than I expected.
What did you give this one?
I gave it a C. I agree with pretty much all of your points. I've had a lot of questions about the initiative since they were first introduced, and they haven't really answered most of them, and this episode kind of brought up some more. The way they operate makes absolutely no sense. In the previous episode, they talked about how they were going to execute some contingency plan for whatever was happening with the frat house and all that stuff. And nothing came of that then. I thought maybe something was going to come of that now, and we didn't hear anything else about it, so I guess it just doesn't matter. And they're basically being written the same way as Adam, where it feels like they're making up everything as they go along, and they have no idea where it's going to go, which is a great way to plan out a TV show. At least we saw Adam in this episode. It seems like he hasn't done anything in a while, but going to Spike, a vampire that is less capable than most vampires at this point, seemed like a really weird thing for him to do. I mean, I assume he's doing it because Spike can at least talk to the gang without them immediately attacking him. But I really want to see what his plan is going to be, and why does he need people hurt on both sides or whatever. I am extremely skeptical that that is going to end up making any sense. Having Oz come back was cool, and I actually didn't really mind what they did with his character here, but all the stuff with Riley interacting with him was really stupid and didn't make sense, and Oz basically is just gone again. So it ended up being kind of disappointing, but I am glad that they at least have Willow and Tara kind of out in the open. It's really tedious when they just drag things out as much as they can, and they've actually handled that okay, apart from the way Willow was hiding Tara for so long, which still doesn't make sense. Especially since the writers, apparently in real life, didn't plan on them being a couple. So are they ever going to explain why Willow was hiding Tara, or is that kind of retconned as the explanation now? We're probably never going to find out. And we are very close to the end of the season. Again, Adam hasn't done a whole lot, at least he was here, but we really need something big to happen immediately, or else this whole season is going to feel like just kind of random stuff happening, which is not exactly satisfying.